My name is Harper Jones. I am 32 years old. You don't need access to money. I'll handle everything. That's what my husband said. And in that moment, I didn't argue. I didn't get angry. I didn't even think it was strange. Because I trusted him. But back then, I didn't know that I was already losing control of my life. And that wasn't even the worst part. We had been married for 6 years. Logan always said he liked taking responsibility. He liked to handle things. At first, it felt safe. He paid the bills. He managed the finances. He made the decisions. And I thought, that's how a strong man is supposed to be. I'll take care of everything, he would say. And I believed him. Because it sounded like care. But I was wrong. At first, it was small things. Why do you need a separate account? He asked once. I shrugged. Well, just in case. Just to have one. He smiled. Calmly. Almost gently. We share everything. Why complicate it? And I agreed. Because it sounded logical. Because it sounded right. But I was wrong. Then he started saying, just tell me what you need, I'll buy it. And at first, it even felt convenient. I didn't have to think. Didn't have to calculate. Didn't have to decide. He did everything. And I let him. But over time, something began to change. He stopped explaining. He would just say, don't worry. I'll handle it. You don't need that. And each time, it sounded less gentle. Sometimes I tried to ask. About money. About accounts. About how much we had. He would look at me as if I had asked a stupid question. Why do you need to know that? He would say. And in that moment, I would feel embarrassed. As if I really had asked something unnecessary. But something was wrong. I felt it. Not right away. Not sharply. But somewhere inside. Quietly. Gradually. Like a feeling you can't explain. But I convinced myself again. He just cares. He just understands better. He just takes responsibility. And I was wrong again. Because one day, everything changed. And that's when it became much worse. It happened suddenly. At first, a slight pain. I didn't pay attention. Then stronger. Sharper. As if something inside was tightening. I was sitting in the kitchen, holding my stomach, trying to breathe evenly. It'll pass, I told myself. But it didn't. An hour later, it got worse. I couldn't stand up properly. Every movement hurt. And at some point, I realized I needed help. Urgently. I picked up my phone. Opened the banking app. Entered my password. The screen loaded. And nothing. Error. I tried again. Then again. My fingers were shaking. My heart was beating faster. But the result was the same. No access. I froze. For a second. Then opened another app. Tried to pay directly. And again. Error. I sat there, holding the phone tightly. And suddenly understood one simple thing. I couldn't pay. For myself. For my treatment. And in that moment, something inside me shifted. Quietly. But very clearly. I called Logan. He didn't answer right away. Only after several rings. Yes? Calmly. As if nothing was happening. I'm not feeling well, I said. A pause. How bad? I need to go to a clinic. Urgently. My card isn't working. Another pause. Longer this time. I'm busy right now, he said. Calmly. Evenly. Try later. I didn't immediately understand what he had said. As if the words didn't register. Logan. I can't wait. He exhaled, slightly irritated. Harper, I said, I'm busy. And in that moment, the pain inside changed. Not physical. Much deeper. I don't have access to money, I said quietly. I can't even pay for the appointment. A pause. Because you don't need it, he replied. Just as calmly. I handle everything in this family. I went silent. Not because I agreed, but because I suddenly realized that it was true. But I still didn't understand how much worse it was. I still made it to the clinic. By taxi. I had some cash. Not much. By accident. Leftover from some old purchase. And in that moment, it felt like the only thing I had. The reception area was cold. The lights, too bright. People around were speaking quietly. And I just sat there, staring at one point. Thinking only one thing. Why can't I pay for myself? The checkup was quick. The doctor said something. Examination. Tests. Observation. I nodded. But barely heard anything. Because something else had already begun inside me. When I left, I picked up my phone again. Opened the bank app again. Entered the password again. And again. Nothing. But this time, I didn't close the app. I started looking. Carefully. Line by line. And suddenly noticed. The account was not in my name. I frowned. Checked again. Then opened another one. A third. All the accounts were in Logan's name. I felt a cold sensation spreading inside me. I came home late. Quietly opened the door. The apartment was dark. I went to the kitchen. Sat down. And for the first time in a long time, opened the folder with documents. I had never done that before. Not once. Because I trusted him. But now, I opened one file after another. The apartment. Not in my name. Savings. Not in my name. Even the money that I had once earned. Went through his accounts. I sat there, looking at the papers. And couldn't understand one simple thing. How did this happen? When did it happen? And why didn't I notice? And in that moment, a thought appeared in my mind. This wasn't an accident. This was done. Gradually. Quietly. Carefully. I ran my hand across the table. Slowly. As if trying to hold on to something. But there was nothing to hold on to. Because suddenly it became clear. I had nothing. And it wasn't about money. It was about the fact that my entire life was registered under someone else's name. And for the first time, I asked myself, where am I in all of this? But the answer was even worse. Because I began to understand. I still hadn't seen the whole picture. Logan came home late. As usual. Calm. Composed. As if everything was under control. I was sitting in the kitchen. The documents in front of me. And I didn't stand up when he walked in. He looked at me. Then at the papers. And immediately understood everything. You went through the documents? He asked. Calmly. Without surprise. I didn't answer right away. I just looked at him. Why don't I have access to money? I asked. Quietly. But directly. He sighed. Sat down across from me. As if we were discussing something ordinary. Because you don't need it, he said. Evenly. Confidently. I handle everything in this family. I felt everything inside me tighten. But not from pain. From clarity. So, I slowly chose my words. I have nothing at all? A pause. What about me? He looked at me. Tilted his head slightly. You have me. And in that moment, everything fell into place. Not suddenly. Not loudly. but very quietly. As if a puzzle that had never fit together finally did. I suddenly remembered everything. How he used to say, "I'll handle it. Don't worry. You don't need that." How he would get irritated when I asked. How he would joke it off. How he would change the subject. It wasn't care. It was control. And he didn't even hide it. "It's easier this way," he added. As if explaining something obvious. Easier for him. I looked at him. And for the first time in all that time, I felt no fear. No confusion. Only understanding. He didn't protect me. He took away my right to decide. And in that moment, I realized something else. He wasn't afraid of losing me. Because he was sure I would never leave. But he was wrong. The next day, I woke up before him. The apartment was quiet. Too quiet. I lay there, staring at the ceiling. I wasn't crying. I wasn't thinking about him. I was thinking about myself. About the fact that I had nothing. And that it couldn't stay this way anymore. I got up. Slowly. Calmly. As if afraid to scare away this new feeling inside me. I didn't go to him. Didn't talk. Didn't argue. For the first time, I didn't explain anything to him. I picked up my phone. Opened the browser. Work. I stared at that word for a long time. As if it didn't belong to me. I hadn't looked for a job in years. Because there was no need. Because he handled everything. But now, for the first time, I understood why. I started scrolling through job listings. Slowly. Carefully. At first, it felt strange. Then, unsettling. Then, scary. But I didn't stop. "You still won't manage without me." That phrase suddenly echoed in my mind. And in that moment, something shifted inside me. "We'll see," I said quietly. I sent the first resume. Then the second. Then the third. And with each email I sent, it became easier. As if I was taking something back. Piece by piece. A few days later, I got a reply. A small company. Nothing special. But it was mine. I didn't tell Logan right away. I just started. The first day felt strange. I was going to work. And felt like a different person. Not better. Not stronger. Freer. When I came home, he was already there. He looked at me. Frowned slightly. "Where were you?" he asked. I took off my coat. Calmly. "At work." A pause. "What work?" I looked at him. Directly. "My work." He laughed. At first quietly. Then without trying to hide it. "Harper." He shook his head. "Do you really think you need that?" I didn't answer. "You'll just get tired," he continued. "And you'll go back to the way things were." And in that moment, I finally understood. He didn't believe in me. He never had. Because it was convenient for him. That I couldn't. But now, it didn't matter anymore. A few weeks passed. I didn't tell him anything unnecessary. Didn't share. Didn't ask. I just lived. Differently. Work became a part of me. At first it was hard. Then, familiar. I paid my own expenses. Planned on my own. Decided on my own. And with each passing day, I felt more clearly. I was getting myself back. Logan saw it. At first, he didn't pay attention. Then he started asking more often. Then, getting irritated. "You've changed too much," he said one day. I looked at him. Calmly. "No," I replied. "I just became myself." He smirked. But this time, There was no confidence in it. You think you can do it without me? He asked. And that was when I understood that this question no longer had power. I didn't answer right away. I just walked to the table, took a folder, placed it in front of him. He frowned, opened it, and froze. Divorce papers. Are you serious? He asked quietly. I nodded. Yes. A pause. Long. Heavy. He looked at me as if, for the first time. You won't make it on your own, he said. Not as confidently anymore. And in that moment, I realized how much everything had changed. Because before, that sentence would have stopped me. But now, it meant nothing. I already am, I said calmly. He stayed silent. And for the first time, he had nothing to say. I took my bag, put on my coat, paused for a second at the door. Not to look back, but to understand one simple thing. I no longer want to depend on him. This is my life. And now, I decide. I walked out and closed the door behind me. Without fear. Without doubt. And for the first time in a long time, I felt truly calm.